We are very excited to officially announce that we are moving to Mexico. Hola, hola, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So as you see, I have an empty chair, and that is because I am very excited to have a special guest. Like I shared with you all, who we will be sharing a very special announcement. I have this Instagram Live, and I will be posting it later on tonight for those of you who couldn't join us. But I will also have this video on YouTube and as well as on the podcast. But thank you all for those who have recently joined. I'm very, very excited to have you all here. You have no idea. So without further ado, I'm going to bring over my guest just so that we wouldn't take too much of your time here. So my special guest, as you probably know, is my husband. So, I wanted to have him here because I think it is very important to share with you all of this big announcement that we have. And it's so funny. I have gathered a mix of responses as to what is next in line for me and for Viva la Mami and for our family really in general. And so we are very excited to officially announce that we are moving to Mexico. And so this is why I wanted to bring Alex here with me, because obviously he is a part of this. This has been pretty much like 2 years in the making. We knew that we wanted to move to Mexico, but we just didn't know when the time was going to be right. We didn't know, whether if right now is the perfect time or later on. All of us have our hopes and aspirations and dreams to eventually go back to the motherland. But for us, it definitely came sooner. And so us as first generation folks are kind of, we're doing this reverse migration. And I think that it is very important to talk about that because, we all someday hope that we would return, or some of us, we have been ingrained. It has been ingrained in us to not even consider going back to Mexico because out of survival, our parents were forced to move out of the country. And we still envision Mexico as that way. But in all honesty, over a year and a half ago, we went to Mexico for like 4 weeks. We stayed there for 4 weeks and we literally saw ourselves there. And Alex, I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thank you for having me. I feel super honored to be in front of your followers here. And hopefully, I don't know, I can bring some excitement here. But to answer your question, for me personally, just like how Jess said, when we went over there about a year and a half ago, I fell in love with it. Right. I mean, we've always been city people, and that's what we're going to be going to. It just gave me personally that big city vibe that Chicago gives us. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm not comparing that both of them the same. Obviously each has their own individualistic characteristics, but León is León. It's beautiful. And that's where we ultimately decided to move to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that this is the perfect time. And I will be answering a couple questions that people had asked. So if you haven't signed up to the newsletter, to the Viva la Mami newsletter, I did share this with my subscribers as well as the Viva la Mami Collective community in advance about this. And I did have a couple questions about our move. And really, right now, we felt like it was the right time just because we have 2 little ones. As you know, we have 2 little toddlers who are 2 and 4 years old. And we felt that right now we could definitely take advantage of that just because
they have no friends.
Yeah, they don't have like an established friend group here. Or, I know that as they get older, they might push back on a lot of things. Like I remember when I was a teenager, I would be so unappreciative of going to Disney World for some reason. And so let alone doing a big move like that. And so we felt like right now is the right time. And for those of you who haven't followed us for a long time, currently in the space that we're in a living situation where we are homeowners to a three flat building in Chicago. And so we knew that eventually we could always move out and then rent it out. And so that's something that, didn't keep us kind of like restricted in terms of our current living situation.
Yeah, we
And
definitely give ourselves a year tops
to
to
live
be here
here.
because a one bedroom, one bathroom with 4 people definitely gets into your mind. So
Yeah.
that was definitely a big contributing factor for us to make this move.
Yeah, and essentially, we gave ourselves a deadline to live here for a year, and we were like, okay, well, what is the next move? And, we were trying to look at the conventional things, right? Like trying to find better jobs, better paying jobs to afford another mortgage because we don't want to, sell this property. This is sort of a real estate investment property. And so for those of you who don't know what house hacking is, we did talk about this actually with Alex here on the podcast. We did share about, what it's like to house hack and kind of building that generational wealth. But yeah, so if we felt like right now was the right time to do that because everything seemed to align very well with us and our current season of life. And so, yeah, I can't believe it. We are moving to Mexico, which is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might hear this place a little echoey just because we are slowly getting rid of our stuff. We got rid of like some furniture, but not all. I think within the next couple of weeks, we will be kind of getting rid of some things just because that's the nature of doing a big move.
Check out Facebook Market, buy some stuff.
For those of you who are in Chicago, yeah. And so, yeah, like, one question was like, what made you decide that now is the right time to make this move, especially with two young kids? And so, I already said, right now we felt like it's the great time because they are little, but it's also so that, I don't know about y'all, but like growing up, at least my grandma used to take care of me. My Alita used to take care of me. Alex had a very positive childhood experience. Like those are core memories that I personally have. At least, like the first 5 years of my life, maybe up until maybe I was like 8 years. Everything else is a blur because you're kind of in this preteen stage. But at least for me, like I really wanted to have our kids create this like core memory, and that is of Mexico. And I know a couple friends, in fact, my hairstylist, she lived in Mexico for a year, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I remember how fun it was. Like my siblings and I loved it." And so, we felt like, okay, right now maybe we can create this kind of once in a lifetime experience for our kids. And so, if anything, we're doing this for our children, just that way they can be immersed in the culture. They can be integrated with just like having this bicultural, bilingual experience, not just from the United States, but in our motherland. And one of the questions was, why now? And especially with our kids. And so, I don't know if you have anything else to share.
Yeah, I mean, just like I just mentioned, that obviously one of the biggest contributing factors was that Diego and Mateo, they don't have like any established roots here in terms of like friendships or like friends or whatever. So yeah, hopefully they can build some of that over there in Mexico. And for me personally, was I told Jess that one of the biggest things that if it didn't happen for me, vámonos, right? It was I was looking for a promotion in my job. Didn't happen, so just like I just said, the stars were aligning. So once I got that bad news, hey, let's make this good news and let's get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's a lot of ways that you can kind of go about this, right? Like you can either leave your job. I know a lot of families who leave their jobs and just like start a new chapter in their career, in their lives, really, and they start anew. And I think that's the beauty with us. We are able to, I don't know, just create some, like start a new chapter in our lives. It's just like when we get married. It's just like when we graduate college, right? There are so many milestones. And I think all of the decisions that we've made, we did it mutually. We did it through, just like listening to each other. And honestly, I don't know whose idea it was. It almost like it was just like we were Well, but you too, you were like, you know what, let's just go. And so like I think we were planting the seed for each other
Mhm.
and then it happened. One of the questions in advance that we received was where in Mexico are you moving to and why did you choose that specific location? So Alex answered that earlier, but we are moving to León, Guanajuato, which is one of the largest metropolitan cities in the United States, in Mexico. I think it's the sixth largest city, I believe, in Mexico. My family's from Guanajuato, and so you know, a lot of people are like, well, are you moving there because your family's there? And actually, my parents are currently there, and my grandparents live there too. I think it's helpful to have my family nearby. They're going to be about an hour away. But honestly, I loved León, and often people don't talk about León. When you think about Guanajuato, people think about San Miguel de Allende or Dolores Hidalgo or Guanajuato City. And the big surrounding cities, people often think about Guadalajara and Querétaro, but we really like León because it created that balance between, the big city, but also it's not as big like Mexico City. I love
Mhm.
Mexico City, and we were thinking about moving to La Ciudad de
Yeah.
Mexico, but we're like, no, that's too big. Like,
Yeah, it's mind-boggling how big that place is.
yeah, it's really big. And so we're like, you know what? Maybe Leon is a good sort of
In
like
between.
in
Yeah.
between. Yeah. Especially for us city folks like who grew up in Chicago. I think it's a happy medium to be in a city like Leon. And then the other second part is, oh, I guess when are we planning to move? And so we are planning to move in the next 2 months. So yes, please
Hmm.
send us well wishes, prayers, or whatever. Like, it's going to be a lot of work, to be honest, just because, we have to have everything kind of set. I guess with the apartment rent, we want to get it rented out. So, if anyone's in the Chicago area and if you know anyone who lives in the city and wants to rent, like, feel free to reach
Let us
out.
know.
Yes, let us know, but it's also just like the logistics of getting there. And so I will be sharing content about that just because there's a lot of information about relocating to Mexico, but this is more so out of the expat perspective and or people who don't identify as like Latin American or Mexican for this specific example. And so, and yeah, so we're coming in from a different lens, from a different experience. We are children of immigrants. I've obtained my dual citizenship. Alex is still working on his. That process is going to be a little lengthy, to be honest,
Hmm.
but I'll be sharing that as well. And so, we come from a different vantage point than other people that want to move to Mexico who don't have any roots, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, we will be sharing a lot of information about that as far as with our adventure. Let me see. I'm
There
getting
was a question here from Todos Tienen Temporada, I think.
uh-huh.
Yeah. They're saying what type of work will you both be doing while there? My partner and I have been planning to move to Mexico.
Yeah.
So I could kind of briefly answer that one. I'm still gonna keep my job. I'm fully remote, so I'm super super blessed to have that this position. So that's basically what I'm gonna be doing, but the same old 9 to 5 job, but in a different location.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, I am currently unemployed, but through Viva la Mami, I'm all open to receiving whether if it's brand partnerships, sponsorships, whatever it is, speaking engagements. I'm currently working on that. And I'm also working as a contractor, and so more like freelance. And so the benefit is that we are earning US dollars. And so
Hmm.
that is a privilege, right? But I always say, like, this is part of the American dream that our parents left and have done for us, right? They came to this country so that we can have some advantages. And one of the advantages is that being bilingual, being bicultural, we're able to really navigate this and, just leverage kind of like our existence, right? As people who can be from here and from there, if that makes sense. Another question that was asked are what are you most excited about and what are you most nervous about with this big change? So, what makes you excited, Alex?
For me, what makes me excited is making these new memories with my family, right? Getting to watch my two kids not be enclosed in our little house. If we want to go outside, let them go outside and yeah, just pretty much having new experiences in a different country, right? And yeah, just exploring every day. Pretty much, that's what I'm personally hoping to do.
Yeah.
And as far as what makes me scared, the logistical part of it. Right now, we're currently trying to look for an apartment. What I'm kind of worried about is the actual drive down there. Being in a car with two little ones, a freaking cat.
Yeah, we haven't shared that
Yeah.
yet. But yes, we are planning to drive from Chicago to León, Guanajuato
Mhm.
to embark on this move. A lot of people just like fly to relocate, but no, we're actually going to bring our car and talking about legalization and plating our car to a Mexican plate, like that's going to be different. And so again, there's a lot of things that, it's not just like grab your bags and leave, right? There's so many logistics. And for us, we are planning to live there for a minimum of a year. So we are giving ourselves at least a year to try this whole thing out and, see how this works. But we're also open. We're open to, staying there for a couple years. And for me, at least with my current season of life, like I am a stay-at-home mom, right? Like that is my full-time job. I am a stay-at-home mom and we are going to enroll the kids to school. So actually, if y'all haven't been following me or have seen my stories, I went to Mexico alone with the kids last week. Or is it going to be 2 weeks? I don't know.
It's
I don't
two
remember.
weeks.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
yes. And we were there for a week because we went to the school where we decided to enroll them. We during our spring break, we visited a bunch of schools and we decided to enroll them into one where they're both going to be together. It's going to be a preescolar and both kids will be there. And that will allow me, to focus on Viva la Mami and creating different and new content for you all. So feel free to share any, suggestions or topics that you want us to talk about. But yeah, we have thought about this and it's not just about, like I said, packing our bags and leaving. Like no, this is very logistical, it's very formal, it's like legit, it's legal, right? Like we are, again, not going there as like tourists for 180 days. We are going there as citizens.
365 days.
Minimum. I have a question here. So let's see. Is there a time frame of staying in Mexico? Yeah. So I did answer that. And so yeah, like we're planning to stay there for at least a year and then go from there. Let's see. Another question that was asked, how are you preparing the boys for this move? Are they excited about living in Mexico? Okay, to be honest, Diego specifically, if y'all haven't heard him talk, this kid only speaks Spanish. Right now he's in that age where we have fully immersed him in the language, right? Like it's 100% Spanish, everything everywhere, with the exception of school. Right now, school isn't like fully 100% Spanish, but had we stayed here, it would be dual language after this year. But this kid, I kid you not, like is obsessed with anything Spanish speaking,
Hmm.
obsessed with the culture, obsessed with Mexico in general. And even in the winters, he would be like, "Yo no quiero estar aquí. Yo me
Yeah.
quiero mover a Mexico." And I was like, "Okay, well, if this is your goal, then hey, this dream is about to happen."
Yeah.
And so I guess we officially told them, and specifically Diego, right? Because
Yeah.
Diego's 4 and Mateo's 2. But we officially told Diego, like, hey, how do you feel about us moving to Mexico, or, how do you feel about going to a different school and meeting new friends? And so just like having those initial conversations, and it's really equipped him to have a better understanding of like, oh, we are moving to Mexico. And honestly, I think he is excited more than
Hmm.
anything. I think he's very excited for us to road trip down to Mexico. He's excited to meet new friends. Like he got to visit his school, his future school, as well as Mateo, and they interacted very well with the students, the teachers. They love the playground that there is. These kids are super active kids, and I know that Mexico is very outdoorsy. I mean, and y eso que we're moving to a location in Mexico that isn't considered like hot, right? Like it's pretty mild, I would say, in the winters. And for us, I mean, mild is like what, 40 degrees or like for us,
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're used to having 20-degree weather in the city of Chicago. So
I'm gonna be the one that's struggling because I
yeah.
start sweating at 70 degrees.
Yeah. Well, oh well. So yeah, so I think the kids understand the concept and we are working with them. So for those of you who haven't heard or known of this yet, Diego is currently going to therapy and occupational therapy, and both therapists know about us moving to Mexico and they're helping him with sort of like a transition plan. That way it's not going to fully like hit him hard. But, I think
I
he's
think
very
he's ready.
excited. Yeah,
He's definitely ready.
he's ready.
He's more
And
ready than we are, honestly.
yeah. One question that I had was, what about Viva la Mami and the Viva la Mami Collective, which is my in-person community? And so for Viva la Mami, we'll start out with that first. It's still going to be the same, right? It's still going to focus on Latina motherhood. It's still going to focus on how we can redefine motherhood as modern Latina moms and how we can sort of reclaim our culture and mold that into this modern parenting, right? And so this is still the same premise, but now that I will be living in a different country, and especially in a country where our family comes from, I think I will be able to share a better perspective, right? I will be definitely sharing more content about our experience. So what we've decided to do, and Alex is partnering up with me here, we will be creating a series of YouTube videos. So it will still be under my YouTube channel, Viva la Mami, but there will be unique playlists about our stay in Mexico, our relocation to Mexico, where it will be kind of like vlogging lifestyle, but also just like educational
Yeah, sharing tips
videos.
and tricks.
Right.
We'll be making all the mistakes, so hopefully you guys won't have to.
Especially for those who have shared that this is a dream, right? And so we will be adding more content specifically on YouTube, but also on social media. So please stick around, and I'm always welcome to receiving feedback, to receiving, what your thoughts are, if you have any topics that you want us to talk about. But yes, we will be sharing more content as it relates to our official move to Mexico. As far as with the Viva la Mami Collective, and I did share this with the community members, I am in the process of revamping it. Initially it essentially was a monthly kind of in-person mommy meetups that we would do. So each month, mommies would meet up in person around the Chicagoland area. And then we would also offer virtual workshops, I always considered it like the professional development of motherhood, right? Where we talked about different topics and how we can best be a better version of ourselves through this lens of mothering. And so I am planning to revamp it just a bit. So I still want to have a community just because I feel like there's so many benefits to it, but it will definitely be more of a virtual setting, which I know it can be disappointed, especially for us mamas who lived through the pandemic. We want to make those in-person connections. But trust me, I mean, there's a lot of different, platforms that offer in-person meetups. And I'm in the process of, trying to figure out if I can gather a couple ambassadors where they can host these in-person events, based upon, the area that they live in. So there's still more to come, but I will let everyone know about, this new makeup of the Viva la Mami Collective. I do see an importance and I have received really positive feedback about this, especially the mentorship program. But I also want to scale to a different level where, we can be inclusive of like mamas outside of the Chicago area. So that way, we can have more mamas. Like, trust me. And I've gotten requests from mamas in Texas, Puerto Rico, Australia, Colombia. So like different Latina moms that are just navigating, this unique journey and having this kind of sense of this dual identity where they are mamas, but also Latinas, and how that really impacts the way that we parent.
Just excited for this new move. So.
Yes. Yeah. So like I said, a lot of new content coming up as it relates to our official move to Mexico. We'll still be around here in the Chicago area for the next 2 months, but we will, yeah, embark on this new journey. And I'm very excited to have you all here, for us to share all of this to you. I think it take this as a sign that if you ever want to make change, I think it's doable, right?
Make it happen.
Yeah, you can make it happen. And I think a lot of us are scared to do big changes like this, or we're just like comfortable.
I for sure was. I definitely for sure was scared.
But props to you. Like I think I've always told Alex, like I'm such an adventure person that I've always envisioned myself living outside of the country. At first it was like Ireland, and then Italy, and now
everywhere she visited. Oh, I wouldn't live here.
But obviously with Mexico, I mean, we thought that this would make much more sense just because it's connected to our cultura, it's connected to our families. We're only one generation behind, if you will, from like being disconnected or away from the motherland. And so what a great way for us to come back and for us to bring our little kids. And I think, like Alex said, like I think that is our inspiration. Our kids are kind of like the force between this so that we can do something different. And again, just like the stars aligned very well for us. So if you ever pay attention to that, if you ever pay attention to fate, or just like any signs, right, like take that as a sign, like maybe it's time for you to
change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for the lovely comments. I appreciate it. I don't know, that's it. Yeah. Okay, that was it. This video will be obviously posted on my Instagram account, but you will be listening to this as the audio version on the podcast, and it will be posted online on YouTube as well. So all these different channels, and that way we can reach out to more folks. But thank you all so much for tuning in, and hasta la próxima. Adios. Bye.